but like you heard there, and Pamela Bauer, where the fans feel they have played Rwanda in the presence of top volleyball dignitaries. They, of course, both of them, the youngest player in the beach volleyball game, gave Rwanda a very tough time from the blast of the whistle. Edidion Joseph Mofia also won 3 gold medals for the Nigerian weightlifting event at the games. Weightlifting continuing as well to do what we've seen, of course, of the wrestlers.
Yes, the weightlifting federation, they've actually done a very, very fantastic job in this African games. Of course, we've seen this point in time. I think we've seen if not up to about 10 medals, coming from weightlifting alone in these all-African games. And from what we've seen so far, this man, of course, he actually won 3 gold medals. Of course, I think that was on Wednesday. That was actually his first event, and now he's coming up, of course, with another medal as well in his own event. I think he actually prepared, very well for this one, and we must give kudos, of course, to the weightlifting federation. They've actually done well. We've seen the weightlifters, of course, not disappointing whenever they get down there, of course, to carry on their event. And I think for me, from what we've seen at this point in time, much attention should be paid, of course, to the weightlifting federation as well as the wrestling federation, because for what we've seen so far, we've actually amassed a lot of medals, from weightlifting as well as wrestling. So for me, I think after these all-African games, these weightlifters, these wrestlers should be given much attention in terms of having further training and also organizing meets for them to keep up, doing what they're doing.
Most returns at the African Games for Nigeria, for Team Nigeria, has come from weightlifting and wrestling, and they continue to make impact. Boxing as well is continuing in their own quest to get in at the medal table and on the podium, because now we have 2 female Nigerian boxers, Patricia Mbata, who is in the 70 to 75 kg class, and Blessing Okarakwe, who is in the 66 to 70 kg class, all through to the semi-finals of the event at the ongoing games in Accra, Ghana. Semi-finals, this one, Kisley, they should be able to get to the podium at least.
Yes, they should be able to get to the podium because taking a look at their performance so far, I think it has not been bad. And when you talk about boxing, it's been a long time, of course, we saw our boxers, getting to this stage, of the competition. In fact, boxing has been on a decline, in Nigeria. But it's going to be a thing that we're seeing our boxers, of course, getting to its semi-final of the All-African Games.
8 women boxers are already in the semi-finals?
Yes, already in the semi-final. That's what I've said. It's actually a surprising, performance for me, because over time, we haven't really seen the Boxing Federation living up to expectation whenever they get to competitions like this. But at least we'll start seeing the boxers, living up to expectation at this point in time. So we should just be hopeful and see if they can possibly, get a medal, for the country. It will mean a whole lot, and as well serve as a motivation for the Boxing Federation to step up their game, and as well as the boxers as well.
We're talking about getting medals from the boxing event at the ongoing Olympic African Games. Tunisia, Zambia, Algeria, Ghana, Egypt, Congo DR, Mozambique, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Morocco, and Tanzania are all sure of having medals in this boxing event, Kinsley.
Yeah, they're all sure of having a medal, in this particular one, because you take a look at where they are already. I think no matter what it is, they should be able, of course, to grab a medal. Nigeria is also not left out. We hope that, our boxer, talking about Mbata, of course, will be able to take out Radi Grammy of Mozambique. I don't really see how, of course, to be a very strong, opponent, of course, for Mbata. For what we've seen so far, I think she has been able to, keep her head down and, getting into her games, gradually. So we just hope that, Mbata will be able to live up to expectation as well, even Orakoe as well. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. Aside from the fact that other countries are also assured of medals, we should also be hopeful as well of having medals. Like I mentioned, it will actually go a long way in reviving boxing in the country.
Boxing, wonder where you remember the days of Bisa Wangpa and the rest of them. We really have to get those days back where Nigerian boxers were very outstanding, especially at the African Games. The same way we have been outstanding in hard weightlifting, wrestling. We want to get back as tough in boxing as well. Talking about the African Games, Kinsley, the medal table now, how does it look like? Nigeria still trailing Egypt.
Not really this time around. Nigeria not trailing Egypt, because Nigeria have definitely dropped to 3rd position as at yesterday, as it is not a very good one because they couldn't win any gold medal yet in the yesterday's event, and that's why they was actually seeing that drop. And that's more reason why you have to fight, of course, to win the gold medal, because no matter the number of bronze, no matter the number of silver, of course, you've won, if you don't get those gold medals, you might actually, of course, get a decline, on the medals table. Of course, from what we've seen so far, South Africa now occupies that second position with about 77 medals now, 22 gold, 22 silver, and 33 bronze. But Nigeria are now third now with 55 medals, 22 gold, 13 silver, and 20 bronze medal. Egypt still maintain the top position, as it is. So you take a look at it now. Team Nigeria will have to do more. We have to see if we can actually get, a medal, probably a gold medal in the boxing events. We have to also look at, what will be coming up today. The Flying Eagles of Nigeria will also be in action. They also have, to get, something as well for the country. We can't forget the cricket team as well. These are events that we have to make sure we get these gold medals, because in a situation whereby we don't get these medals, this gold medal especially, it becomes difficult for us. South Africa on 22 gold medal. We are also on 22 gold medal, but the difference is that they have 22 silver and we have 13 bronze medal, and 33 bronze medal, and Nigeria have 20 bronze medal. So I think if they can be able to step up, at least coming up with, let's say, 2 or 3 gold medals, they will definitely bounce back to the second position. Over time, Team Nigeria has always been, on that second position. I think this should be another time where they should also look forward to maybe getting down to the first position, not declining or not coming down, to third position this time around. So for me, I just would just hope that, we'll be able to get those gold medals going forward. The athletics event is also coming up as well. That is another area where we can also look forward in getting those gold medals.
Well, 16 gold medals coming from weightlifting for Nigeria out of the available 22 we've gotten so far. So weightlifting is our pride, right?
Yeah, definitely. Weightlifting is something that has actually helped Team Nigeria in this All-African Games. We've seen, since the start of the weightlifting events, Team Nigeria, of course, have been getting those medals, especially the gold medals as well, in weightlifting. I think that's been, of course, our strength. If we have about 22 gold medals, and out of that 22 gold medals, we actually got 6 medals, of course, coming from weightliftings. That is actually a very huge one. I think that's why I said that after this game, we should actually look at for the weightlifting federation. Much attention for me, Mr. Sherry, has not really been paid to the weightlifting. We've seen, yes, the federation has been up and doing. The athletes as well, they've been up and doing. But I think more attention, of course, needs to be paid to the weightlifting. We should be able to, of course, try to see how to invest in those areas, in those sports where we normally have strength. We talk about athletics, we talk about weightlifting now, and now we're looking at, the wrestling federation as well. I think much attention should really be paid, to those federations because they've been living up to expectation whenever we go out, for competitions like this. So for me, kudos to the weightlifting federation, and also kudos to the weightlifters for this impressive feat.
Well, talking about African Games is still ongoing in Accra, Ghana. Of course, we have competition going on in Cape Town and Kumasi as well. Like we mentioned there, Nigeria dropped slightly to the third place position right now on the medals table. Egypt continue to run, do I say, riots with the medals, because they have as many as 65 gold medals now. That's a distance between them and the second place, no, the third place, the Nigerian contingent at the African Games. A couple of days to go. This weekend, we should see the games being wrapped up. Meanwhile, stay away from the African Games now and hope that medals will come, and go to look at something that's bothering the whole world of
Ngono because we saw those about 2 to 3, knockdown, of course, from Anthony Joshua. And I tell you, Joshua has really developed himself, when it comes to his punch. His right hand now is not very deadly. If he gets to you, you might not get yourself, for a period of time. And that's what we saw happen to, Francis Ngono. The last punch, of course, actually took him down unaware, and he has to remain on the ground for some time, and he was actually being administered, oxygen before he was able, of course, to get himself. That's to tell you the level at which that punch, from Anthony Joshua, went on him. I think he shouldn't just end there, just like what was seen at this point in time. He should go for a medical checkup, because where the punch landed on his head was, it's something that can destabilize you for a period of time.
Yeah, that's the reason why he was giving oxygen, because he was completely dazed.
So for me, I think he actually need a further medical checkup, just to make sure that his head and his body, of course, are well intact, because that punch was very, very deadly, from Anthony Joshua. We thought, the Francis Ngannou we saw against Tyson Fury was going to be more better than what we saw in that bout against Tyson Fury, but Joshua was so
he had a punch delivered to Tyson Fury that sent him to the canvas as well.
Yes, and we thought it was going to be another, sensational performance as well against Anthony Joshua, but Joshua was too good for him, on that very day. And the bout didn't even go to, let's say, 10 minutes. I think it was a period of 5 minutes, and it actually, ended. So for me, I think the rate at which Joshua has actually gone now is actually very fantastic. But for Francis Ngannou, I think he should be administered for that checkup.
Well, that should not be a problem. After all, he had a $20 million bank balance because of those 2 rounds that sent him out there. So I'm sure he knows the importance of a healthy body, and he should be able to go in for further medical checkup. Let's go away from boxing now and go to tennis. And in tennis, the Indian Wells is ongoing and is at a crucial stage now. In the female category, Iga Swiatek has gone to the last 4. That is the semi-final stage at the Indian Wells. This is after Karina Wozniacki retired injured from their quarterfinal pairing.
Yes, Iga Swiatek was able to go through because of that injury we saw for Wozniacki. And I think it's a good one for Swiatek, but sad, of course, and for Wozniacki at the Indian Wells. But I think it's just a way through for Iga Swiatek, of course, to see how she can be able, of course, to get Indian Wells. This is going to be the 3rd time she'll be getting to the semi-final, of course, down there in California. And I think it's a very good record as well for Iga Swiatek. But can she continue in this particular one? How far can she go? Can she get this one? That's the big question, because the Iga Swiatek we've seen this season, not that she has relented, in terms of her performance, but she still has to add that, dogged touch. That, she needs to be very highly spirited, at this point in time. But for what we've seen so far, I think she has what it takes. We just know that the likes of Coco Gauff is still there. The lady that would have possibly give her a tough time was the likes of Arina Sabalenka, but she was knocked out yesterday by Emma Navarro. So for me, I think the road is very clear for Iga Swiatek, except of course, or there is an upset. But for me, taking a look at how it is so far, I think the road is very clear for her going forward.
All is clear for Iga Swiatek to at least maintain her #1 status. This is a 1,000 WTA event, and so if she has 1,000 points to what she has, no one can take that #1 spot from her. Her position is very important in this one. But Coco Gauff looks very strong as well. She has what it takes to at least give her some challenge, maybe at the semi-final or final stage of this India World.
Yes, Coco Gauff, and talking about her opponent, Yang Yu, I don't think she's going to be a very tough opponent for Coco Gauff, going. I think the only stumbling block on the road of Iga Swiatek might be Coco Gauff. And we've actually seen a resurgent, Coco Gauff so far. She's really been on her game, and she's been trying, of course, to improve. Don't forget, last season she won the U.S. Open, and that has been a very huge means of motivation for her going forward. So for me, I think the only stumbling block or the only problem on the road for Iga Swiatek is Coco Gauff. If she can be able to get past Coco Gauff in this one, I think of course she should be short of getting this particular one. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. The Indian Wells, actually came with a lot package for us. We hope Irina Sabalenka, of course, was going to get to this stage, but it's so unfortunate that she was actually being taken out, along the way as well. Let's just see how, of course, it will end at the end of the day.
Maria Zakari, the Greek, is she back? She was able to take out Navarro in, let's say, she lost the first set, but she was strong in the second set where she beat Navarro 6-2, 6-3.
I think that was a very dogged performance, from Maria Zakari. Don't forget, Emma Navarro, she was the lady who took out world number 2, Irina Sabalenka.
Yeah.
Yes, so I think it was a very dogged performance, from Maria Zakari. We hope, of course, she keep up, with this momentum going forward, because she still have, a very tough opponents, of course, on her way. The likes of Golf, eventually she go through in her own game, Iga Swiatek as well. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see how far Maria Zakari will be able to go this time.
Well, our fingers are all crossed. Let's see how far Maria Zakari will go this year's Indian Wells competition. Let's see what's happening at the ATP. That's in the male version at the same Indian Wells. Australian Open champion Yannick Sinner continue to make impact at the Indian Wells. This is his 19-match winning run as he beat Jerry Lecheka to reach the Indian Wells semi-finals. It was one that B stopped at a level of the competition. That looks very strange. B is having to stop the match involving Yannick Sinner at the stage.
That was a natural disaster. Would I say natural disaster, coming up down there. They couldn't actually control the bees, and of course, that match, of course, has to come to an end. But aside from that, we can actually look down on the exceptional performance of Yannick Sinner this season. I tell you, the man is coming up gradually, to the limelight, of tennis. And take a look at what he has done so far this year. Take a look at the Australian Open, where he had a very fantastic, outing, taking out big names, the likes of Djokovic, and the rest of them, even down to this Indian Wells 19-match winning streak, of course, for the man. I think the man has been so exceptional. We've seen that resurgence and high spirit performance, of course, from Yannick Sinner. I think he might be the next talking point on the lips of every tennis lover, because on the momentum we're seeing at this point in time is really getting up there. Very young. I know it has to do with, of course, his age. And everyone was looking at the likes of Alcaraz, of course, of taking up the limelight after Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, and the rest of them. But Yannick Sinner is gradually taking up this point in time. It was a very, very impressive performance against Czech Lecheka, 6-3. Very, very easy win, of course, for the man. So for me, I think we should be looking forward to see this man, Yannick Sinner, up there anytime soon. Let's just hope that he will be able to get past the likes of Carlos Alcaraz or Alexander Zverev, going forward in this competition. That might also be a tough test for him. But I think from the performance we've seen so far from him since the season got started, he has what it takes, to challenge the likes of Alexander Zverev or maybe Carlos Alcaraz, on his way.
We're talking about the next gen in tennis. Yannick Sinner from Italy is one of them after he performed excellently well at the Olympics, and he's come now to winning the last Grand Slam and, of course, pushing at the Indian Wells. It's maybe the part of Holger Rune and Alcaraz now. We were beginning to have someone who was taking strong steps after Carlos Alcaraz did win his own Grand Slam as well. But Holger Rune has been taken out this time by Daniil Medvedev 7-6, 6-4 at the Indian Wells. Rune not getting the strength, or do I say the quality we've seen of Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner now.
Yes, of course. Not the top quality tennis player. Talking about Holger Rune.
But he's one of those young players everybody thought could be, challenging for at least Grand Slam, right?
Yes, but he hasn't really shown much. That's it. When you see a top quality, what makes you a top quality player is when you're able to maintain high level of consistency. That's what makes you a top quality, tennis player, or probably top quality next gen. Like from what we're seeing, from Yannick Sinner, at this point in time, he's actually showing that, quality of being a top tennis player. So I think Hogorona has not really lived up to expectation.
Casper Ruud, do you think it's something has happened to
Yes,
Casper
Casper
Ruud?
Ruud, inconsistency as well, has also been what has actually put him on a decline when it has to do with his tennis career. Ruud is one of the tennis players, of course, we could mention that should be able to challenge the big boys, the likes of talking about Djokovic, and the rest of them. But we haven't really seen that. We actually saw that quality of a top tennis player, from the likes of Carlos Alcaraz at some point. But all of a sudden, we saw him, dropping a bit. Now we're seeing Jannik Sinner, stepping up as well. So for me, I think Hugo Rune and Casper Ruud, of course, they've not really lived up to expectation. They've not shown that, top quality performance for over time now.
Well, if you're faithful of tennis, you should know that Jannik Sinner, the next gen in tennis right now, has had a wonderful 2024 because he's won 19 games on the bounce and yet to taste defeat. So every tennis player now should be watching out for Jannik Sinner. After all, Novak Djokovic has been hit or has lost games, and so right now the next person everybody is looking up to is when will Jannik Sinner lose? Will he lose in 2024? After all, so well, the Indian Wells is into the semi-final stage. In the next couple of days as well, we should be wrapping up competition at the Indian Wells. One of the Sunshine Rainbow will have out there in tennis. At this point, we would like to take a break, but when we return from the break, we'll go to football. And talking about football reminds me that Enyimba International has been fined a whooping 7 million naira for infractions over trying to bring the game to disrepute here in Nigeria. And across to Europe, Liverpool FC is into their biggest win ever in European competition, with Mohamed Salah making history. When we return from a break, we'll let you know some of these and many more from the world of football. Stay with us.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, social economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch.
Here on Atlantic Television Network, and we'll bring you up to speed with the latest happening around the world of sports. Of course, the African Games is ongoing in Ghana, and Team Nigeria have slightly moved from second place position to third, courtesy of a 22 gold medal at the competition. It's hoped that she can bounce back before the end of the games in the next couple of days. And besides that, we told you in tennis, the Indian Wells is into the semi-final, and Iga Swiatek continues to power on, while Jannik Sinner is yet to lose a game in 2024 into the round of semi-finals as well at the Indian Wells competition. And now we have to go into football, but just before we go into football, one more story coming in from the world of Formula One. And talking about Formula One at this stage, Kingsley, we've seen just about two races concluded, but there continue to be controversies, amongst some of the drivers out there. But 18-year-old Britain seemed to be getting praises at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix just concluded.
Yeah, talking about Behrman, he's been very fantastic. He was put up a very fantastic performance in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. He even finished. He had a better finish, than even the seven-time champion Lewis Hamilton in that particular, race. He was just being called, I think, 2 days before the race, kick-started, and he was able, of course, to deliver at the end of the day. Everyone is now looking forward, everyone is now looking forward, to him, as being the new man, of course, that can actually take, the world of Formula One, to the next level. I think that performance we saw from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, of course, will give him, an edge. That he keeps up this momentum because he had a very, very impressive performance, in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Well, let's say congratulations to Behrman, and it looked like one man that will be the new face of Formula One, just at the age of 17, 18, doing a spectacular driving speed out there, in the race after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Let's go to football proper now and talk about football. Reminds me at this stage that the board of the Nigerian Football Federation, disciplinary committee, has had their hammer really heavy on Enyimba International. Enyimba International, about courtesy of the encounter at home last time against Doma United, has been fined a whooping 7 million naira for infractions and attempts to bring the game to disrepute. Kingsley, Enyimba International should know better as a team that has been former champions at various stages here in Nigeria. But it looks like they have thrown the win, caution to the wind, and now the NFF disciplinary committee has come very heavy on them. 7 million naira for several offenses. Can't control the crowd, disruption of the live broadcast of the fixture, and misconduct. All of this ranging to 7 million naira.
Yes, it's actually a very huge controversy, Mr. Siri, because what actually caused that controversy was the decision of the center referee to award Enyimba a controversial goal in that particular controversial goal, where the center referee actually went in that particular match, of course, to go and take a look at the replay as if he was looking at the VAR. And the fans of Doma United and the officials of Doma United were not happy looking at that, controversial goal that was being awarded to Enyimba, and they have to, of course, get into the pitch. And the disappointing part was the fact that Enyimba didn't actually provide, adequate security to have stopped this man, from entering into the pitch of play, and that's against the rule. And also, we saw unauthorized persons as well, not only the fans, getting into the stadium to actually to have a protest, about that particular goal. I think for me, yes, just like you mentioned, Enyimba should have done well by providing adequate security to have that should have been able, of course, to stop fans and unauthorized persons from entering into the pitch. For the fact that you play such a game that is being streamed live and you don't provide adequate security, I think from what we're seeing at this point in time, 7 million, very huge, from the Nigerian League Board. But I think Enyimba, they didn't do well by not providing adequate security. These are things we've been talking about, and the worst of it all was the fact that this match was being streamed live, and it's not good at all, for the image of the Nigerian Premier Football League.
Enyimba International, of course, we definitely have to pay for lack of adequate security at the stadium. 1 million naira, we are told, is what they will have to pay for inadequate security, and they pay a further 1 million for the encroachment of the fans when the match was going on. And of course, the heaviest of the fine is coming from the 5 million, which they will have to pay for disrupting live broadcast of the match to the rest of the world. This is not too good. And if that is not enough, apart from 7 million naira, their fans will not be part of 3 league home games And this for me looks like a lesson which the home fans will have to learn and learn fast.
Yes, a very huge way, a very hard way, of course, for Enyimba to learn, and as well, for the fans as well to address. But I think that they've actually, dropped now, I think, to 5th or 6th, position on the log. You take a look at it. Everyone, when they actually bounce back, in terms of their performance, everyone was thinking they will actually contend for the title, probably look forward to defend the title. But from what it is at this point in time, I think that loss against Aqua United and as well as Rebel Stars has really brought them back on the table. But we look forward to see what Finny the Judge, of course, will be able to do with the side going forward this weekend. And
Enyimba International right now is in the 5th place position on the league table with match day 25 all completed. Few more games to end the season. Enyimba will have to struggle to see how they can catch up with Lobby Stars, which is 1st place on the league table. There's Plateau United is in 2nd place position. Rangers International is 3rd place right now on the league table, while Remo Stars is a 4th place team before Enyimba International. So Finidi George will have to wear his socks and of course ensure that his boys do well and see whether they can become a 9th-time champion of the Nigerian Premier League here. Is this possible for Enyimba to upstage Lobby Stars, Remo Stars, Plateau United on the league table, not forgetting Rangers International that is seemingly getting their mojo back?
It's going to be a tall mountain for Enyimba Football Club, especially when you take a look at the form of Lobby Stars now. Lobby Stars, they've been very, very consistent, in the league this season. I didn't actually see this performance, of course, coming, from Lobby Stars. After last season, we didn't see them, having a very, very impressive performance. But this season, they seem to be doing very well. You can also take away the likes of Enugu Rangers, who is being led by Coach Fidelis Lechuku as well. They've also been very, very fantastic. Remo Stars are also not left out. So, Enyimba, they really have to make sure they do more than what they are doing to see how, of course, they can actually retain the title. It will be a very, very difficult one, Mr. Shea, from what we're seeing so far in the league.
Well, if you look at the league table right now, the Lobby Stars lead by just 4 points between them. And of course, the Rangers, the last 3 teams, the 3 teams that make up the top 5. So for Enyimba International, for them to get to the top of the league table right now, they will have to cover up with the 4 points gap between them. We hope that Plateau United have what it takes to catch up with Lobby, who has 46 points. But for Enyimba to catch up points, from elsewhere or a couple of games which they can go. That's we can take one more. Do I say highlight from the league after match 25, and it has to do with the resignation of the coach of Katsina United, Bala Abubakar, who is already accusing the club of not fulfilling contractual obligations, and of course, do I say high rate of indiscipline amongst home fans of Katsina United?
Yes, for me, I think it was actually very sad end, for Bala Abubakar at Katsina United. The man, of course, he's trying, of course, to live up to expectation. Katsina United, they're not actually, in a very poor position on the log. They're 8th on the league table. And the man has not really, take a look at his performance so far, hasn't really been bad. We actually saw him, of course, going on a 6-match winning streak, of course, with this Katsina United side. And just having a draw, we saw the fans, of course, throwing him death threats, even the management as well, not living to contractual agreements, and they're expecting more, of course, from the man. So I think he actually threw the towel due to a lot of pressure, of course, coming towards his way. I think that's what, of course, managers should do. If you're not able to handle the pressure coming in from the fans as well as the management of the team, it's best, of course, you throw in the towel. Maybe you can actually go there and have his peace of mind and maybe look for another team, of course, to manage. But for me, I think it was really a sound way to end his stay down there at Katsina United.
Well, that's it. Let's hope that Katsina United will find a new gaffer any moment soon. But they have to do that as fast as possible to avoid the drop from the Nigerian Premier Football League. Let's quickly go across now to Europe, and going to Europe. Europa League matches were in action. Kingsley, but just before we go to Europe, let's see whether we can get one or two football stories coming from the African Games.
Yeah, the African Games, we should be looking forward to see the Flying Eagles of Nigeria, locking us against their opponents today. I think that should be, Senegal. They lost their first game and won their second game. This is going to be their third match, and we look forward to see if they can be able to get past, of course, their opponents. Don't forget the Falconets as well. They are also in action today. They've actually gotten a very impressive run so far in the tournament. So we're looking forward to see the two Nigerian teams talking about the Falconets and the Flying Eagles, today at the All African Games, and we hope, of course, they'll be able to live up to expectation.
Well, we hope that the Nigerian teams at the African Games will continue to see how they can go to the crucial quarterfinal stage of the competition. Their counterparts from South Africa is busy preparing for the 2024 Olympic Games qualifying round. Talking about Bayana, we understand they've announced a 29-player squad ahead of the qualifier against the Super Falcons of Nigeria.
It's going to be a tight encounter, Mr. Siri, because I think South Africa women football have improved over time. We saw them at the last Women African Cup of Nations. I think they won that particular one. And at the FIFA World Cup as well, they actually have a very, very impressive performance. The Super Falcons are also not left out. They've also been very fantastic under the tutelage of Around the World Drum. And our players, of course, they believe in up to expectation. The first leg of this one will be held at the MQ Abiola Stadium in Abuja. And I think that's an advantage for the Super Falcons of Nigeria. If they can actually get a win, let's say 2-0 in that particular one down here in Nigeria, I think that will help when they go down to when they go down to South Africa, to actually take on the second encounter. It's going to be a very tight one. This is actually the last phase of qualification, and the Super Falcons of Nigeria, it's been a long time we saw them in the Olympics. So I think Around the World Drum should be able to see how to, gather or get the results in order for the Super Falcons to get to the Olympics once again.
Well, the preparation toward the Olympic Games, win Nigeria and South Africa goes to the nations to the Olympics, or Nigeria wins and she goes to the Olympic Games, and so it's a must-win for the Super Falcons of Nigeria against their counterparts Bayana of South Africa. Well, preparations are on, and we hope that the Super Falcons will take this one serious. Wardrobe is back, and for Desiree Eli of South Africa, she knows as she's one of the most feared coaches on the continent of Africa, and so it is a very tough deal. First leg coming up in Nigeria, and the return leg fixture will be in South Africa. Well, time for us now to go quickly to Europe, and Europa League fixtures took center stage last night. Kingsley, the biggest result came in from the Anfield Stadium in England, Liverpool to be specific. Of course, they did beat their counterparts from Prague by 6-1. Aggregate scoreline 11-2 in a Europa League fixture. It looks shocking, but that was Liverpool's most win in European competition in their history.
Whitewashing, a really huge whitewashing, from Liverpool against Sparta Prague. It ended, 5-1 in the first leg. In the first leg,
that was in Prague.
That was actually very good. The second leg ended 6-1 as well. 11-2. What a way of actually getting to the next stage of also for the competition. Of course, you should actually see Liverpool as one of the favorites, in the Europa League this season, because you take a look at the teams there. They are one of the most experienced, teams as well. They've actually gotten some couple of times to play in the Europa League, and when you take a look at their form this season, they've been very, very, fantastic. Mo Salah as well. We know he hasn't played, any match for Liverpool after the African Cup of Nations due to the injury, of course, he sustained. Was also featured yesterday, and he also had a fantastic outing as well.
Yeah, talking about Mo Salah, he scored a goal last night, and that goal has now made him Liverpool's player with 20 goals per season in the last 7 seasons. No player in the history of Liverpool has scored 20 goals in 7 consecutive seasons. So Mo Salah now becomes the very first Liverpool player in their history to score 20 goals in 7 consecutive seasons. What a player Mo Salah has turned for Liverpool.
Yeah, is actually an asset, to Liverpool, and that's why they can actually let him, go. Last summer, we saw a team from Saudi Arabia only looking for a signature, but Liverpool were so adamant. They didn't want to let the man leave because they know what Mo Salah, of course, brings to the table. He's a player that can deliver the team, anytime, any day. We haven't seen him, in some couple of matches after the African Cup of Nations, though Jurgen Klopp has been able, of course, to actually bring out this result. But the absence of Mo Salah is still telling on the team. And yesterday, we saw what, of course, he brought, to the table. And that's what, of course, you can get from a player like Mo Salah. I think from what we've seen so far, the man has really, created a lot of record for himself, down there at Liverpool Football Club. Let's see what the season holds for him going forward.
Rangers of Scotland, one of the traditional European teams, have crashed out of the competition courtesy of losing at home yesterday. We saw them being knocked out by Benfica. 1-0 ended in Scotland.
1-0 it ended in Scotland, and it was a very sad end as well for Rangers, as their hope of another deep run in Europa League, of course, ended in that abysmal way. We look forward to see them, of course, maybe bouncing back next time to see if they can actually get something for themselves.
Well, Sparta Prague crashed out courtesy of Liverpool's heavy whitewashing of them. Slava Prague, the other club side from the country Czech, were eliminated as well. AC Milan did the elimination quickly.
AC Milan did the elimination, ended 3-1 in that particular encounter. Fantastic display from the boys, of course, from Milan. 7-3 aggregates win, for them. I think that is a very good way of trying to live up to expectation in the Europa League after they were dropped, from the UEFA Champions League. They're also one of the favorites, aside from Liverpool and Bayern Leverkusen. We've actually seen a lot of progress as well, from them. But let's see how far they can go in the competition.
Talking about how far they can go in the competition, Villarreal can go far in spite of winning 3-1 over FC Marseille of France, courtesy of inferior scoreline in the first leg.
Yeah, 5-3 ended in aggregates, and not a very good one, of course, for...
You win 3-1 and still crash out of the competition.
Still crash out, I think that's a very, disappointing... the players, of course, will be disappointed after that performance. The fans as well also were disappointed. I think it is not a very good one, losing against Marseille. I think Villarreal should be, of course, that team that should, actually contend very well. Maybe... since Unai Emery, of course, is not there, with their key man, Samuel Chukwueze, who also left the team, we've seen a little bit of drop as well, in terms of performance for Villarreal. But let's see what Marcel, of course, will be able to bring to the table.
Brighton of England, they were able to beat Roma by 1-0, but it wasn't enough for them to move to the next stage of the competition.
Yeah, it wasn't enough for Brighton, and so sad for them, of course, having seen their end in the Europa League. But for Roma, it's been a resurgence for them after Jose Mourinho left. We've seen the players, of course, living up to expectation, the likes of Romelu Lukaku, and the rest of them. The question is, was Jose Mourinho, of course, the problem, for the poor results, we saw? I think that will be a question to answer another time. But I think the coach has been able to put the boys together and getting the favorable results, we've seen so far. We just hope that they be able to, of course, to contend with the big teams going forward.
While Brighton Football Club of England has crashed out of the Europa League, West Ham is into the next stage of the competition, courtesy of a whitewash of the opponent FC Freiburg of Germany. They beat Freiburg by 5 unreplied goals.
An impressive display from David Moyes' side yesterday, and I think they're also one of the side we should be looking forward to in terms of laying their hands, of course, on this one. David Moyes, of course, is a very good tactician who also has much experience as well about the Europa League, and I think also they have something to prove going forward.
Bayern Leverkusen are not just leaders on the German Bundesliga, but they are edging to win in the Europa League as well. They took Akoraba FC by 3-1.
And the unbeaten run continues in all competition. Very impressive one for...
nearly 40 games they played without winning, 39 now in all competition, and still kicking.
I tell you, and I think we should give kudos to the manager, Xabi Alonso. He's been very, very fantastic. Of course, with the side. And from what we've seen so far, I think Xabi Alonso, of course, can be one of the managers, that should be, of course, causing a lot of problems when it comes to football. Now, the man has really, really done a lot, with this Bayer Leverkusen side.
Well, that's the much we can take from the Europa League results. Don't forget that there are still the Europa Conference League matches were played last night and will be played later today as well. But on our program, Sports Extraordinary, we'll bring you more of those results. But we have to wrap up the show. And tonight, or maybe a couple of hours from now, the draws for the quarterfinalists of this year's UEFA Champions League will be on showcase. 3 teams from Spain, 2 from both England and Germany, and 1 from France successfully secured their spots to the last 8 of the competition. Now, it is time to know which of them will face each other at the draws expected to take place in Switzerland, Lyon to be specific, at about noon Nigerian time.
Yeah, it's going to be an impressive one, and let's see how it goes. Arsenal, of course, then in the quarterfinal, we have Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Dortmund, Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, and Real Madrid. It promises to be an interesting quarterfinal clash, Mr. Siri. Let's just keep our fingers crossed and see what the draw will look like at the end of the day. Definitely
at 6 p.m. Nigerian time, Sports Extraordinary will bring you those fixtures. Will Arsenal face Man City? Will they face Real Madrid? All of these questions have been will be answered at 6 p.m. Nigerian time. That will be after the draws will have been done in Switzerland later today. And that will be it for this edition of Sports Talk. We'll be back later, like I said, at 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land.